Psalm 119, Day 19. My flesh trembles. We'll be reading verses 113 through 120 today. I hate the double-minded, but I love your law. You are my hiding place and my shield. I hope in your word. Depart from me, you evildoers, that I may keep the commandments of my God. Uphold me according to your promise, that I may live, and let me not be put to shame in my hope. Hold me up that I may be safe and have regard for your statutes continually. You spurn all who go astray from your statutes, for their cunning is in vain. All the wicked of the earth you discard like dross. Therefore I love your testimonies. My flesh trembles for fear of you, and I am afraid of your judgments. Our thoughts today center around verse 120. My flesh trembles for fear of you, and I'm afraid of your judgments. Fear and trembling are often found together. Scientists tell us that this is a result of our activating the fight or flight response. Kim Hellemans of the Department of Neuroscience at Carleton University in Ottawa, Canada, tells us this response is governed by the sympathetic nervous system, a division of the peripheral nervous system that consists of nerves that originate in the spinal cord and make connections with diverse body organs. She further points out that the trembling might be caused by a release of adrenaline or the sudden drop in blood glucose, as glucose is diverted from the blood to the muscles in the response. I wonder if this is the fear and trembling that the psalmist is referring to in our passage today. There are many verses in the Bible that speak of the fear of the Lord. For sure, there were times when we see the fear of God in the form of trembling. Hebrews 12:21 tells us, "Indeed, so terrifying was the sight that Moses said, 'I tremble with fear.'" John the Apostle reacted this way upon seeing Jesus in Patmos. "When I saw him, I fell at his feet as though dead. But he laid his right hand on me, saying, 'Fear not, I am the first and last.'" Revelation chapter 1 and verse 17. Look at King Belshazzar's reaction to the writing on the wall in Daniel chapter 5. Immediately the fingers of a human hand appeared and wrote on the plaster of the king's palace, opposite the lampstand. And the king saw the hand as it wrote. Then the king's color changed, and his thoughts alarmed him. His limbs gave way, and his knees knocked together. Daniel chapter 5, verses 5 and 6. Here is Daniel's reaction to a vision he beheld in Daniel chapter 10, verse 10. "And behold, a hand touched me and set me trembling on my hands and knees." It is somewhat easy to understand how those in the above examples would experience the fear and trembling having seen what they saw. But what is it that causes fear and trembling in the absence of external stimuli? Consider these, for instance. Isaiah chapter 66, verse 5 tells us, "Hear the word of the Lord, you who tremble at his word. Your brothers who hate you and cast you out for the name's sake have said, 'Let the Lord be glorified, that we may see your joy.' But it is they who shall be put to shame." We read in Ezra chapter 10 and verse 3, "Therefore let us make a covenant with our God to put away all these wives and their children, according to the counsel of my Lord and of those who tremble at the commandment of our God. And let it be done according to the law." These are akin to what the psalmist feels. Some may point out what John says in his letter. "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love." 1 John chapter 4 and verse 18. But remember what Paul admonished the Philippians to do in Philippians chapter 2, verses 12 and 13. "Therefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, so now, not only as in my presence, but much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God who works in you, both to will and to work for his good pleasure." The Hebrew writer says this, "It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God." Hebrews 10:31. We would do well to be reminded of God's judgments against the wicked. Love is a great motivator for sure, but fear can be useful to set our paths straight. Have you trembled at God's word lately? And Lord willing, we'll meet again tomorrow.